Hi, my name is Kayla Gemeyer, and I'm an undergraduate student in this course. Over the past 4 or 5 weeks, I've been reading a book titled Cockeyed. This memoir was published in 2006 by the author and main character Ryan Knighton, a 20-something-year-old from Canada. Ryan writes about his life before, during, and after he became blind from retinal deterioration, which was diagnosed in his senior year of high school, after nearly killing someone with a forklift at work and crashing his car multiple times. Tackling the amusing, wonderful, and extremely difficult parts of his life, he takes the audience on a ride through the major moments. From his childhood and teenage years in Langley, BC, he explores his self-discovery and relationships as an undergraduate and twice over grad student in Vancouver, trips to New Orleans and South Korea, family devastation, and a week-long adult blind camp, just to name some of the most notable. One of the topics that has been touched upon in this class is the role of loved ones in the life of someone with a disability, as the family must also deal with the social or economic impacts of their loved one's, quote, problem. As someone who grew blind in his later youth, Ryan often reflects on his close relationships with family members, friends, and girlfriends. His mother and father had to learn how to cope with a life-changing diagnosis along with him, and often felt a lot of regret in having scolded him for so many years for his accidents, mishaps, and mistakes caused by low vision. My father was my first victim, holding on to guilt for his assumptions that I'd lie about what I could and couldn't see. Ryan also refers to his mother throughout the book, explaining how she coped by reading far more material about his condition and the potential promise of curative technologies than Ryan ever cared to hear about. The other key relationships that Ryan talked about are his 2 major girlfriends. As a freshman in college, holding on to severe denial and anxiety regarding his condition, he happened to be matched up with a deaf woman named Jane as a roommate. Though they had a romantic start and allowed each other the comfort of being with someone who understood their disability for 3 years, it was in this relationship that both of them learned more about the range of their independence, their interests, and thus their incompatibility. In his second relationship with a sighted woman named Tracy, he dealt with a wider range of genuine emotions and working through life together. This is great for a while, until she had to help him constantly as he tried to hide his blindness to retain an English teaching job they both had in Korea. Despite love, Ryan writes, Tracy was finding her compassion exhausting. To carry blindness, we were learning a sighted partner must have to give up some of her own ability to see and the life it makes as she'd come to know it. Through their relationship, which continued indefinitely after a months-long break in the United States, Ryan learned more about his blindness, himself, and his relationships to the world than he previously had. The next main theme that I'll look at is social perceptions, a phrase that I'm using to mean mainstream perspectives of people with disabilities arising from external, social, or historical conditions. Extending from his discussion of personal relationships, Ryan also presents a fairly comprehensive perspective on what it's like to be viewed as blind by society, what he thought it would mean to be blind, and how his social environment and internal attitude interacted with each other. When he reluctantly got his first cane, he remarked in a very funny way about the odd manner that sighted people would respond. According to him, there are several distinct groups. The stumps, who quietly wait regardless of how much space is there around them, the jiggers, who act normal but boogie aside at the last second, and then everyone else, who go like creek water around a rock. He always took to noticing how people reacted in his presence. Though he used humor and sympathy to place these instances into context, Ryan felt a lot of anxiety and nervousness throughout his life as he slowly came to accept who he was and how people saw him. At one point, after spending time with at least a dozen other blind adults at an outdoor camp, which he did to overcome what he saw as a fear of blind people, he writes, "My cure, I hoped, began with this. There is no such thing as a blind person. That was my discovery, as odd as it may sound. My old horror was that I am, could be, or must become a blind person, but there is no such thing." And my final reflections, I think that this is a really wonderful book. I loved it a lot. I still have to finish the final chapter, to be honest, but I think Knighton is a very talented writer with a style that is informal and simplistic without ever being dull. In fact, his tone and his style and his narration are very fun, matching the storyline of his life that bounces to high and low, to mundane and very unique points. The content of the book is not profound, but it's still really insightful. His life is one of a white middle-class Canadian who was sighted until his late teenage years, and thus he never claims to speak for all blind people. But his story, as one of many blind people in the world, can illuminate common themes that could help both the sighted and the blind understand or relate to the complexity, similarities, and differences of life without vision, or at least significant vision. I really loved his honesty, his critical but light perspectives about society, and especially his humor. I'll definitely recommend this book to anyone curious about life on the other side of light. And this is just a final quote that I really liked from him. I won't read it because I'm running out of time here, but thank you.